Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Coffee with Chrissy. I'm just making sure my microphone's working because, well, we've been here before. How's everybody this morning? Welcome to Friday. Happy Friday. I hope you had a manageable week at at the very least. The fact that you survived means that something good happened this week. So I'm glad to be here with you. I've learned a lot of lessons this week, and I am excited to share them with you because, well, I think one of the things that we all missed or were never taught is really how to support ourselves. And I talk about that a lot. Sorry, I got an itchy nose. Um, I talk about that a lot about how how do you support yourself through hard things. And so I want to narrow that down a little bit today. And what exactly does that look like? So a long time ago, when I first started working on stuff like this and stuff everywhere, right? I really started to pay attention to how I supported myself. And when we talk about how, taking care of yourself is really about how you're minding your stories. We've talked about that a lot, right? I have a choice to say, what the hell's wrong with you? Or I have a choice to say, wow, that dementia is really busy, right? Like that's the where we can catch ourselves from going down this really weird and gross path, right? And well, we know that path because we take it all the time. It's the path of interesting enough, I think the most resistant, but it's the most normalized one. This is the one we know how to go down, right? This is how we've operated all of our lives, right? So what I'm proposing is kind of looking at life as a 8-second bull ride, okay? We as humans, I've said it a million times, every single second goes through our emotion before it goes through our logic and reasoning. Okay. So every single thing that comes at you comes into your emotion. So you're having an emotional reaction first. Okay. After we get past that emotional reaction, and that's the part where I'm going to say is the 8-second bull ride. Does it last longer than 8 seconds? It does. But it doesn't have to last as long as we allow it to last by knowing that first I'm going to be in my emotion and I got to let it happen and I got to figure out what those emotions are. That's going to lead me to the logic and reasoning of sorting this out and supporting myself and really trying to manage all the things that life throws you in in life, right in the middle of a perfectly good day. Oops. Life happens. So my goal is to help us kind of figure out like how do we support ourselves better? How do we understand when that's coming? How do we catch it, if you will, right? And it happened to me like so many times this week. But luckily I've kind of practiced it. But until I come out of that emotion, and when you have constant emotion coming at you, especially when it's like healthcare related and something's hitting the fan, something's not right, I don't know what it is, I'm kind of panicking, and then let's just go on a little journey, should we? So let's say I had an experience with mom this week. Something wasn't right when I went to see her, and her legs were really swollen, and I'm like, holy crap, that's not right, that's not usual, right? And so, and even her good leg was swollen, and that never happened. So I'm kind of like, kind of freaking out, but not freaking out, right? Been here before, done a few things. Let's logic and reason. So that what would have freaked me out 6 months ago or a year ago did not have the same impact. I was able to catch myself and go, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Wait, hold it, stop. Let's go through all these indicators. Let's go through all these trigger points, if you will, or all these things that we need to be aware of, because collectively it makes one picture, but individually you could create a whole different picture. And this is my point, that emotional roller coaster. So we went to the emergency room, and holy crap, we sat in the emergency room for 5 hours. 5 hours before we got in to see a doctor, which is pretty typical. The fact that it probably wasn't 6 or 7, we're actually kind of lucky. However, once we got in there, the doctor came in and he didn't check mom's lungs. He didn't listen to her heart. He didn't do any of that, right? He just looked at her legs, and I kind of told him kind of the history, and that also could have been my fault. Like by the time he got in there, I was like this, just telling him everything I thought he needed to know, my logic and reasoning on everything. And quite frankly, he doesn't need to know all that. I should just like zip it and like fill in the blanks, right? But I don't know how to do that yet. I'm working on that. Any Hoosers. So he's like, oh, it's no big deal. We'll give her some Lasix. And then as he's walking out the door, actually, that wasn't it. When he was walking out the door, mom's like, do you feel okay about it? And I'm like, yeah, not really. I feel like something's missing. I feel like we didn't look at something, right? So then about 3 seconds later, he comes back in and he says, I'm going to run 2 more tests just to cover all of our bases. So they take her, do the x-ray. The lady comes back and gives her the not heparin, the Lasix, right? And we're on our way. So I get mom home, everything's good. We get all checked in, and my chart, you can see everything that's happening. So I go into my chart and I look at this number that's an indicator for how much stress is on her heart. And 1800 is the high number, and mom's at 5280. And I start shitting my pants like, oh my God, she's in cardiac failure. Like she's really struggling. And that is true. But if you look at the entire picture, which I found out the next day, but that doesn't really help me, is that with that much fluid intake, that is not actually going to be a really true number, right? So I take myself on this ride and it just was 11:30 at night. So like, am I going to call the emergency room back? Is he seeing this? Do they know what's going on? What am I supposed to do? Mom, are you breathing okay? Is everything okay? Do you feel okay? Like, right? And it was pure emotion. And then the x-ray came back, and I don't know how to read those, but somebody does inside, who sends it. And there were a whole bunch of things in there that were new and different, and I didn't understand. So of course that leads then to my next story of what's happening, right? Like I just keep building this story in my head, and by the time we go to bed, I got her. I don't know. She's not breathing, or like I got this whole picture. Like, what if I close my eyes, something big's going to happen? But at some point, you just gotta let go and let God and say, you just have to trust that somebody saw it, right? And she's not labored and breathing. She's tired, but she's got 20 pounds of fluid on her. And like, okay, so I settle myself down. So the next morning she wakes up and her face is like, pfft. So in the middle of all this, I have a really important meeting yesterday morning that was super important to me, right? And this whole sense of responsibility that I have to everything is really, it's so, I don't even know what to call it. It's all emotion, to be sure, right? But I have this sense of responsibility that, like, right now, I don't want to go 2 minutes away from mom, let alone 2 hours, right? But then this could be the meeting I've been waiting for. Like, this could be the big meeting, right? And just that tossing around in my head like that, oh my gosh, did I take myself on a really cool ride. But once I was able to just sit down and let all those emotions happen, and this is my point, right? If we can let all those emotions happen, then before we react in the middle of them, and that's the hard part, right? And that comes with age and experience, and like, what freaked you out 10 years ago doesn't even touch you now, right? So any Hoosers, my point is that especially in the middle of situations, like every single thing, you can't even grab one emotion before you get another emotion, right? So anyway, long story short, we went to the doctor, and she explained everything, and that was a good thing. Everybody's sending me messages. Why don't I see them? I hope you guys can hear me. Anyway, I just better check. Anyway, my point is that by the time we left the doctor, she had a whole nother complete story, if you will, about what was happening and what could be happening, and don't worry about that number and blah blah blah. So she has her own perspective, and then my point is then Tess comes back and then you have new stories, and like at some point you just have to stop the madness. But how you supported yourself through all that is really important. You are not supposed to have all the answers. You're supposed to endure the emotions, the impact, like, and there, just to be honest with you, you're going to hear things that you just can't hear anymore, right? Like you just can't, you're just not ready to hear, right? And that's okay. That's 100% okay, because there's going to be a time that you have to do that. And this is not the time. So, and you'll get there when you need to get there. I sure hope this is working. Anyway, so my point is like, if you kind of look at life as an 8-second bull ride, right? And really figure out when you're not in the middle of an emotional situation, what what happens to me when things hit my emotion, like, I always talk about, it's in the reflection. So when you reflect on things and you look at it, what about that triggered you? What part of that triggered you? What happened right before you were triggered? You know what I mean? Like, that's when you're going to come back and actually look at some of this stuff, because you're not going to see it when you're in the middle of it. So my point is how you support yourself through those, in looking at life as an 8-second bull ride. Ride the bull. It's the most uncomfortable part of life, is riding the bull, right? The bull could last 8 seconds. It could last a minute. It could last 10 minutes. It could last 2 hours. But my point is, when you're on the bull, you know that when you're on the bull, everything is worse. Everything is exaggerated. Everything is multiplied by 1,000 times. And that moment is temporary. It's temporary. You're going to be able to get through that, and you're going to be able to get to the other side and at least grab enough of what you need to grab to wrap your head around it as you can. I think that's the point, right? Like, as you can. You can't always, you're not ready for that and all that at one time. So my point is even when you think about how we grew up, nobody ever told us how to support ourselves, right? Like, if you were having an emotion, you just like go to your room and figure it out. Nobody just sat with you and said, "Hey, what's happening for you right now?" Like, wouldn't that be great? What's happening for you? What's the best way I can support you? And I think that nobody's coming to ask you those questions. You have to ask yourself those questions, right? What just happened to me right there? What is a better story that also is true, that could also be potentially correct? Because we always go to bad, and that's human nature. But once we practice kind of being able to come back and go towards the good, I think it's better, right? It comes out better. So I don't know. It's going to lead us into better places. And when we talk about taking care of ourselves, no matter if we're caregivers, human beings, leaders, whatever, you're always going to have that remote emotional reaction, and it's probably going to have somebody's face on it, and you probably want to choke them. No, you can't, but it's okay to have that feeling. And once you get done with that feeling, come back around and say, what the hell just made me trigger like that? What part of that, instead of the person? What's wrong with that person? What just got in our way of being able to connect, or for this to work for me, or to understand what this is doing? I don't know. I'm kind of rambling, but I think you get the point, right? Like, if the more we look at life as an 8-second bull ride, the more temporary it becomes. Those feelings of uncomfortableness, uncertainty, unimaginable pain sometimes, right? Like, it's all temporary. I swear to God, it's all temporary, even if it feels like it's lasting forever. And you're going to make it, because you've made it through everything else. So I think that making our jobs easier as caregivers every single day starts with how we support ourselves and the questions we ask ourselves, not the abuse we give ourselves. Oh, that was pretty good. So I hope that's helpful. I hope that helps you kind of like understand that you're gonna go through the emotion, and there's not much you can do about it except for figure out why you're doing it. So maybe the next time that emotion won't be as strong, and you can help support yourself a little better. So anyway, I hope you have a great week. And this week's joke is, where'd it go? What did the snowman's dog win at the dog show? Best of snow. Festives now get it. Well, I'm off to girls' weekend. I definitely earned it this week. And you've earned some quiet time for yourself too. So find that little spot, hide away for a good 15 minutes, take a breath, and remind yourself that you totally got this. And all you can do is the next right thing, and that's going to be enough. So take care. Peace out. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.